Vishal point us in.
Welcome to Vishal and Company, where Equity Guru's own Vishal Tura, Taku Ndachena, Colin Botrell, and Maddie Grace examine the week's financial events in real terms, bringing the esoteric blur of public market activity into sharp focus. So come in, sit down, put your feet up, and enjoy.
Yeah, my mute is muted.
All right. Hello. Welcome to this week's edition of Vishal and Company. This week, Vishal is going to discuss the stock market topping, if the Wall Street bets hype is over, and why the silver short squeeze failed. TK is going to cover what Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos stepping down means for the company. And we have Galen here again for just all sorts of sassy comments along the way. I am the resident not finance person to ask questions and keep all these guys in check if they're not making a lot of sense for all my non-industry friends tuning in. All right, Vishal, take it away.
Okay, cool. I'm good on the audio side now. Just a bit of technical stuff there. But talking about technicals, let's look at the stock markets. And I did have a post here on Market Moment regarding potential topping patterns. I know, Maddie, you're looking at charts now. Are you looking at double tops and those type of patterns yet or not yet?
I'm not that advanced.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Me and my people are not that advanced.
Well, we talked about the double topping pattern. Really what it looks like is an M shape at the top. Looked like we were going to be seeing that yesterday, but as you can see, the S&P broke out. The NASDAQ is in the process of breaking out with a close today. The Dow is maybe going to reverse, but it looks like obviously it will break out if the other three are breaking out, then the Dow's probably lagging. And the Russell 2000 is also breaking out. So the technicals are all indicating a breakout. The fundamentals, we've covered this in the past, really know where to go for yield. Today we saw that the American economy brought in 49,000 jobs for the month of June. However, NFP for December was revised lower to 225,000 jobs lost. And we still see about 700,000 jobs, unemployment benefits claimed every week. So even though the real economy is pretty much still weak and imploding in cases, the stock market's going to continue higher. We know about the central banks propping this up, and really, I've said in the past, there is nowhere else to go for yield, and we are expecting more money printing and more, fiscal stuff from the government side. But there are two other things that we can look at that could have predicted this. Of course, we know the 10-year yield, the bond market, the largest market in the world. We are now yielding 1.15 on the 10-year yield. And again, when the 10-year yield is moving higher, it's indicating that money is leaving the safety of bonds and is heading somewhere. And just using the asset allocation model, we can predict that it's likely moving into stocks. I mean, could be moving into commodities, could be maybe moving into cryptos, but generally these funds, these mutual funds, like to play stocks and bonds, right? That's mainly the assets that they're looking at. So the 10-year yield, giving us a sign, or gave us a sign that markets were going to be moving higher. We are seeing some selling here now, so we aren't really breaking out, which means earlier next week maybe we create our double top or M pattern on the 10-year yield. So looking forward to next week, perhaps we see some weakness depending on how this daily candle on the 10-year closes. And then finally, one other market. If you are part of the Equity Guru Discord trading room, we've been talking about the Russell 2000 for a long time, using the moniker Ride the Russell, or RTR. It's been a trade that we've loved, and it was our trade for the reopening of the economy. And the Russell is a small cap index. And a lot of people look at the Russell for a leading indicator because generally the retail crowd plays the small caps, right? You're not really seeing big funds or banks play the small caps because they don't generally trade anything or invest in anything under a share price of $5. But, the dynamics are sort of changing, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But when the Russell moves, do look at it because it is a good indicator of perhaps retail money getting back into the economy, getting back into the markets, and generally we use this as our leading indicator. And I just said just a few seconds ago, yes, the retail guys like to play the small caps, but we all know about this, the GameStop story. As you can see here, had a nice little pop on that short squeeze, but we are now below $100. So basically back in the double digits of the stocks, of the price, sorry. A lot of Wall Street guys are saying that this is basically, the fundamentals now being priced in because nothing should be, or this stock shouldn't have been, $480. We got Nokia. It also looks like it's about to be breaking back down. What else was there? AMC. Let's take a look at AMC. Also breaking down below its support there. And then we also had BlackBerry, which is actually a bit stronger, but I don't think BlackBerry was one of the most targeted stocks out of the bunch. So, Wall Street versus Main Street. We talked about this last week, but Wall Street never loses. I know there's a big, the big issue with Robinhood restricting trades. And by the way, today, all restrictions are now removed, so you can be buying GameStop and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people had issues with that. Again, I've been in this game for a long time, and basically since 2008, we know now that equity markets are somewhat managed, right? Instead of complaining about it, what you could have done, and what a lot of traders have done, is actually removed, basically voted with your wallet, right? You could have closed your accounts with Robinhood. You could still do that, and you could take your money elsewhere, right? You could go to brokers that actually didn't impose restrictions, and there are brokerages that did not impose restrictions. And that's luckily the brokerage I'm with didn't impose any restrictions. But again, I don't trade GameStop or anything. So I know a lot of traders who've done that. And we're talking about 6-figure accounts, right? Leaving Robinhood, and they weren't too happy about that. But hey, that's what you can do, right? You can go elsewhere. It looks like it has put Robinhood's IPO on the shelf because there's some bad PR there. But that's something you could look at, and it does look like that this short squeeze hype is now over, especially since GameStop filled this gap here, which is usually a very, very bearish sign. And again, just talking about last week, I did mention I don't like trading these big manias, right? Because you have to understand that Wall Street loves when the retail crowd chases these stocks, right? Because generally, the retail trader is not, let's say, emotionally ready to handle these type of moves. And the Wall Street guys, they love taking, even brokerages, right? Not just Robinhood, but, I'm on the Forex side, right? Which is very volatile. And they love, squeezing and causing these giant wicks here to scare the retail traders and thinking the stock's about to plummet, but then they'll reverse it and make it go higher. And what they do is they just set these traps here, right? They like to play with people's emotions. And again, the retail crowd are very, very emotional because they're not really, especially the new retail crowd, right? Because they don't have the experience with these markets. And that's why Wall Street loves, these type of markets. So that's why I advise people to stay away from these hype type markets, because there's going to be much more traps set up there. And again, when you lose money, that money is gains for someone. It is a zero-sum game. Yep. So going forward now, it looks like people aren't really going to WallStreetBets anymore, but are going to Elon Musk's Twitter. And again, he just posted here yesterday, I become meme. I am the destroyer of shorts.
I am absolutely batshit crazy.
He posted this of himself.
Yeah, this is him.
Lion King.
He's an idiot. He is an idiot.
You remember we talked about this Dogecoin back in the day? I don't know if you bought some.
Yeah, I know. It throws me every time.
But Doge had a very big pop from 1 cent going to 7 cents, which is a pretty big deal, for the crypto move. And here's Musk.
The farcical nature of the markets and his manipulation of it.
What do you think, Galen? What do you think is going to happen now to his Twitter?
Well, there's nothing you can do. I mean, what he's doing isn't illegal. It's just purely fucking manipulative. Sorry, geez, I got to stop that. I'm really angry about this because right now he's basically thumbing his nose at the SEC.
And
do you not
Gail,
think?
you remember the other incident when he mentioned about, this was, I think, maybe more than a year ago, when he mentioned that maybe the Saudis are looking to buy Tesla?
Yes, he's gone way over the line on many occasions. The man has never said a truthful word in his entire existence. Meaning that he's hopeful. Let's put it that way. Do you see what I'm saying? Like everything's like, oh yeah, we got this neural chip. Somebody went on about this neural chip today on YouTube, and that's fine. That's great because they're selling it like it's the bicentennial man, but it ain't. This chip reads 1,000 neurons out of a possible 100 billion. It can barely tell if the pig is hungry. All right, so we've got a long way to go before we're storing memories like Elon says we're going to, or augmenting our own memory, or computational speed. All of that is like, it's like the flying cars of the 50s.
True.
Including his trips to Mars, by the way. That has got to be the biggest scam I've ever seen, because space travel is nowhere near safe enough for us to do any kind of colonization at all.
He just put a big target for this year, by the way. SpaceX wants to do a civilian flight by the end of 2021.
Where are you going to send them?
I don't know if he'll meet that target, but we'll see.
Where are you going to send them? The thing is what they're doing is they're doing something a government agency was already capable of doing and was doing until it had been defunded.
Yeah. TK, do you have any take on the Dogecoin and now people looking at Elon Musk for short squeeze ideas, especially after this warning about I am become meme destroyer of shorts?
Nah, I think the guy's pretty funny. He sees the brighter side of things at times. He's obviously going to get in trouble at some point. The SEC won't allow this to continue because it is price manipulation. Price manipulation is not illegal, by the way. You can state your opinions about stuff, but it's pretty direct. He knows people listen to him.
Well, a lot of us.
I think he's already gone once before.
Yes.
I don't know how many times he has to go until they bar him.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. I think they did have a little talk with him back in the day, but it turned out just to be a little slap on the wrist.
And a little fine here and there. Yeah, do you know what? The SEC has always been in trouble about not enforcing regulation, and it just kind of goes to show you government when it comes to free markets is so inefficient.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk, sadly, is the leader of that kind of movement right now.
Yeah.
And he's benefited from it. He's the richest man because of it.
Well, very much so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He knows how to tell the narrative.
Personally and greatly from that manipulation.
We'll see what they do. But they've tried so many times. I think at this point they're now focused on trying to control something else. Instead of focusing on Elon and his craziness, they're like, let's go to Amazon and Google.
Well, see, that's the thing. They're all running for the hills now because of the anti-monopoly that's starting to come into play. Bezos stepped out of the spotlight. He could read the writing on the wall. He knows it's about to come down. And so he wants to get the hell out of the way, keep the money that he's made and the influence that he has.
And allow things to flow as is. I think Elon, if I was Elon, I would cash out as much as I can right now.
Why not?
And leave and start another Tesla. He can do it. He has the passion and drive to do it.
At that point, the money, right? Because basically, when you have that much cash, the passion and the drive. I mean,
true.
Well, do you guys think SpaceX and Neuralink get an IPO?
Sorry,
what's that?
You guys think SpaceX or Neuralink gets an IPO? I know he said he didn't want to do it for SpaceX, but I mean,
I don't know. They're already trading SpaceX shares on the fucking floor in that company, and I don't know how legal that is. He's acting as his own stock exchange.
Right.
I don't think he would. Well, he funds some of his other stuff using Tesla. Right, so he issued solar bonds.
Yep.
For Solar City and stuff like that. So yeah, I think he's just taking advantage of the fact that the stock price is where it's at, and it kind of goes back to the GME thing. So a lot of people are asking, why has the executive team at GME not said anything about this? Honestly, they don't have to say anything, but people are like, even BlackBerry announced a halt of its of its shares just because IROC is kind of more strict when it comes to activity like that in Canada. But people are like, oh yeah, these guys should raise cash. If they were to raise 10 million shares, at the peak, if it would be like about $200 a share.
But in retrospect,
good cash and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not as easy to sit there and kind of see this happen and make decisions not knowing what's going to happen next week or the week after. So I'm like, yeah, the regulators want to get involved. Management wants to do something to benefit from it, but it's so volatile that you'd rather just sit and wait and allow things to happen. Elon, on the opposite side, takes advantage of it. That's where his genius shows. He issues shares when he knows the shorts. Like he made shorts. He takes advantage of it. He knows how to get publicity on his side, and I give him credit for that.
The hats off. He's managed to run that court really well.
I'll be honest. We'll just quickly here talk about silver before we go to TK's discussion on Amazon. But you guys remember silver was targeted as a short squeeze. I'll be honest, I actually even tweeted to Elon Musk asking him, hey, how much silver is used in your Tesla cars? And he said that I got quite a lot of likes because a lot of people, were trying to get an answer from him to see if he could pump silver. We did it together in the Equity Guru Discord channel. A lot of us got together and said, hey, let's all like it. And I think there's about 30 likes now on that, but no response from Elon Musk. But, the silver commodity, the commodity paper contract market versus the stock market. People need to understand the reason why the silver short squeeze failed was because in the paper market for commodities such as gold and silver, you can actually short squeeze or short or even buy, if someone's bullish, pretty much the entire world supply of silver or gold, right? So we've seen that before. We've seen the entire world supply of gold, more than that, being shorted. And it's really because these paper shorts, no one's really taking delivery, right? It's just to smash prices. But what I want to point your attention to is if you're into silver and gold, use these just for trades, right? That's what I do. I don't necessarily buy SLV or GLD for my investment. I do like the miners, right? I do like the royalty and streamers, but I prefer the bullion. And believe it or not, here in Vancouver, last week, Marin Katusa, who's one of Vancouver's popular resource managers, mentioned how there was a huge lineup at the Vancouver Bullion VBCE, right, the Vancouver Bullion and Currency Exchange, as people were lining up for silver, and people were saying it was almost as if a new iPhone was released, right? It was one of those type of lineups. And we heard in the States that there were issues in the supply side because the demand for bullion in America was just crazy. And this is something, I've seen. I buy silver bullion a lot. Whenever there's a big smackdown in silver prices and you go to your bullion dealers, there will always be a lineup. And one thing to understand is when we are purchasing silver bullion from these stores, our purchases do not impact the paper markets, right? So it's two separate markets. There's the paper market, and I've told people, right, good luck trying to buy physical silver for $27 American, right? Right now, the Canadian price for silver is $34.34. But if you're going to buy bullion, you're paying about $50 per ounce, not 34.34, right? So this is a discrepancy. Yes, there is premiums involved, but that shows you the real demand, right? And this is why I caution people about the paper contracts. A lot of people, there are the banks that short these contracts, but I think it's actually the Chinese and the Russians and maybe the Turks and the Iranians. If you're going to be stockpiling gold and silver, gold especially, you want to buy it at cheap prices, right? You don't want to buy it, as it goes higher. So I think basically what a lot of these countries are doing, and this is what strategists do, and the central bank will do, is that they will short paper contracts. They'll probably do it through some offshore account, set it up, and that offshore account will go to a JP Morgan, will go to a Goldman Sachs, because they can handle these large short positions. So, those are short positions for clients, which are probably large countries or central banks. Wall Street sees that, they get word of that, and then they jump into shorts, right? So that's just me personally, but a lot of people do think, if the Russians and the Chinese and the Turks and the Iranians, what Jim Rickards calls the axis of gold, right? Like, who are trying to take down the US dollar, if they are loading up gold and silver, physical, it's better to short the paper contracts, because if you're stockpiling, you want cheaper prices. So something to watch for. And again, I am still bullish on silver, because I love the not just the monetary side of it, right? But I think the industrial demand, especially if we go to clean and green energy, if it's solar panels and wind, a lot of that needs silver, and I'm bullish on that. I did want to see a close on the weekly chart above 28.50. Not going to happen this week. So we're probably just going to have to wait a little bit more, but I'm still bullish on the commodity.
Great. I am going to pass it on to TK to talk about Amazon.
Awesome. I think we've kind of already talked about it, that Jeff Bezos has stepped down.
Yep.
After actually beating profit records for the first time,
Yep.
Recording 100 billion in in profitability. And this is really, it's not shocking based off how he's actually stepping down, but I think it's the impact of it is pretty amazing when you really take a moment and think about what the capital markets can do for people who do it in ethical ways. And he's stepping down from $1 trillion company. It doesn't happen a lot. A co-founder, usually they're in it just for innovation, and that was his biggest thing. He says he's famous for saying, "I don't like being called the richest man in the world. I'd rather be called Jeff Bezos the father, or Jeff Bezos the entrepreneur." And just kind of shows you what kind of person he is. So him stepping down is a big move to kind of allow fresh ideas to come in and allow that kind of chain of management to continue to grow and expand Amazon over time. But what I really just wanted to nerd out on is the sheer size of Amazon and how fast it's actually grown. So we're just going to look at like the basic numbers. So like Amazon IPO'd in 1997. The stock started trading at $1.73. And this is after all the adjustments and everything. And 23 years later, as of yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago, it was trading at about $3,323.46. It's obviously gone up or down a couple of days after. That means if you had put in $10,000 and made no other additions, no other subtractions in 1997, you're 20 years old, you hold that for the next 23 years, you're now 43, you would be worth $20 million.
That makes me sick.
Just by doing nothing, by allowing capitalism to do its best. And this is a company that started off as a bookstore with $500,000 in sales in its first year of making sales, and now it makes just over 700,000 per minute in sales.
Wow.
So it's like Amazon is massive. It's just we never really think about it, but yeah, he's done quite a lot, and him stepping down is such a big step for him, obviously, to compete with Elon and everything. But that's something else. He's getting more into the space exploration, and yeah, it's really fascinating to think about how much can happen in such a short. Well, 23 years is not a short period of time, but how much can actually happen in a fairly short amount of time.
Yep.
And the big question now for a lot of investors would be, is Amazon still a buy today, even factoring in that he is stepping down, and the CEO of the president of AWS, who's actually the founder of AWS. So he's been around Amazon for almost as long as Jeff. Is stepping up to
the
these.
reason why Amazon still exists.
Yeah, basically, that's when you really think about it, how much has happened in the last 25 years. We've had oil embargoes, we've had Trump, we've had the coronavirus, we've had 2008. So much has happened, and he's still at the top of his game. And I'm just like, wow, you know what? There's no better time to step down. Your stock is up 60% year to date. You're making record profits for the first time, making $100 billion. Just like, it is the right time to leave. So a lot of people now, obviously, they have room for interpretation of how much they think Amazon's stock should be. So obviously, me being curious, I kind of looked at what some of the analysts on Wall Street think the price range for Amazon should be. And some people think it should be worth 5,200, I think.
Yep. About 5,000, yeah, just about.
Yeah, per share. And others think it's close to 2,800. Mm-hmm. So your margin of error is close to 2,500 of space between those valuations. And these are top Wall Street analysts, guys who get paid millions of dollars to move around the logo.
How much is it going to be worth once they break it up?
That's if it does happen.
That's why Bezos is out. I'm sorry. I'm not going to paint this. I'm not gilding this. He's out because he knows he's made his money and he's running out the back door with his bag.
Before they
break apart the
cut
party.
It up in half.
Why are you breaking apart the party? What do you mean?
This has happened on both sides of the aisle for a very long time, and I mean it's not a partisan thing at all. But big business has gradually shifted to the point where the only thing that works now is a monopoly, and we've finally begun to realize that the functioning of a monopoly, especially as being the standard model for distribution in a market, is ineffectual. It's inefficient. It does more damage than good, right? And so what we have is all these tech guys who think they can do everything. So they immediately have this company like Amazon that does everything. Tesla has got Solar City for no other reason than Musk wanted to keep a company that he was vested in alive, right? Yeah. So they have all of these different things that do disparate businesses functioning under one roof, when in fact they should be disparate businesses to allow other businesses to compete. Because basically Amazon, Uber, and all these other places are an app. They're an app. Yeah. And quite honestly, with the way that we can deal with privacy and security and stuff right now, we don't necessarily need them. Yeah. We've given them way too much power. And so hopefully, unfortunately, government's been pretty compromised, but hopefully over the next little while, there'll be more examination done of just what powers that monopolies have over the market and their markets, or over the public market and their marketplace, right?
That's true.
I think the biggest, I think basically, I mean, this is something everyone's seen, right? But government sort of made this worse with the lockdowns. With the lockdowns, corporations have become even more powerful, right? Mm-hmm. Walmart's remained open, your Costco's, Amazon's, while all the small businesses, which again make up 70% of the U.S. economy, right? Mm-hmm. They were all forced to shut down and stay closed. Sure. So in a way, I think government's played. They are helping the corporations in a big way. And maybe it's because they're all dumb or stupid. I don't know. But it's more likely because they get paid by Amazon and stuff, right? When they're running for office, they need donations, and Facebook's there, Amazon's there, all these guys are there, right? I think Amazon's gonna get bigger. I just showed you this article about video games, but the one thing that everyone's talking about is pharmacies, right? Amazon's going to start delivering pharmaceutical drugs, and that's going to be a game changer. That's going to be huge.
True.
It will close a lot of independent pharmacies, right? But hey, I think people would take it from Amazon just because a lot of people do order things from Amazon anyways. So that's one big thing. And then a lot of people are now even talking about Amazon having their own credit card. Maybe telecom, sort of like Superstore, right? Like here in Canada with Loblaws. So we'll have to see what happens there. But I just think, just looking at what governments have done, it just seems like they've purposely tried to make corporations stronger.
No, they definitely have. But I mean, I think we've reached the point, like we did with U.S. Steel, where people are going, this is just too much.
That's true. I think the difficulty with these guys, from when they were testifying, is outside of people are more concerned about Amazon than the others. The others being Google, and not outside of the privacy concerns, but just the sheer size of it, because by traditional measures, Amazon is not a monopoly. It only has 11% of its addressable market share by definition. And to them, they're saying that's not enough for us to be, a monopoly. Just because people are going.
Well, yes, exactly, and that's their. Sorry, apology, and that's their argument, and it's true if you take a look at it on a grand scale. But what they don't tell you is that they monopolize within that sphere, like ebooks. They control ebooks.
Yeah, basically, they have a publishing house and everything that kind of allows that to go through their own platform.
Absolutely,
and even worse on, a lot of what they do is low margin. It's low margin products.
It's not a money making business.
Yeah, so they're like, we have very low margin products. We're well diversified. We can't, by your definition, be a monopoly. A monopoly controls a certain controlling portion of the market, be it volume-wise or sales-wise. And
I believe sorry.
What's that?
I was just going to quickly say, I believe most of Amazon's profits are actually due to government contracts.
Government contracts, with AWS,
So they are working for the government. So,
so it's like, would you want to let go of that constant cash flow at the same time ruin the perspective that you have a free market? It's kind of that we don't know what to do, how to separate you. With American Steel, it was easy, to kind of separate those. Mm-hmm. This one is a little more complicated. They can do it.
Well, it's to a certain extent, it's kind of simple because you've got a very defined transportation division, which should be lopped right off.
By itself, yeah.
Yeah. Then you have your commerce division. Then you have your AWS, which is a completely different business. Then you have your video games, which you're about to start. Then you have Amazon Studios. And then you have Prime Video. Right? Well. This is all very different businesses. This is a monopoly.
True.
I'm going to pass it to TK. One final word to close us out.
About the greatest thing I've ever seen so far is definitely from Amazon on a numbers perspective. The sheer size and growth of the company is just it scared people to be like, what's going to happen for the next decade? Not only Amazon wise, but everywhere else. If money just flows to one resource, other sectors become inefficient over time. And the biggest thing that people do want to do is, ironically, separate Amazon and stop it from being a monopoly, which could be beneficial for regulators, but could be detrimental to clients and customers.
Oh, wow. On that unnerving note,